This is Facilities Jeopardy! Please welcome today's contestants, Roger Baczynski, Pam, Elliott, Kane, and last but not least, Sheri Tonn.
So now we're going to go to money, that's all I want topic for business officials. So when the recession hit in 2008-9, capital investment in facilities fell by this percentage, plus or minus 5%. You can work on your own, you can use your own experience on this to help maybe answer this question.
Well, certainly 2007-8 was a year we spent a lot on capital investment, and we really haven't spent much on capital investment since then until this year when it's picked back up again. So I would guess that it probably, let's say, what is 15%?
That's correct. That would be a correct answer, 15%. And if we take a look at the graphic here, it shows that on a square foot basis, normalized across college campuses across the United States, billion square feet, shows that actually there was a 15% decline in a single year. It amounts on our database to over $800 million of lost capital in 1 year. And then if you look at what's happened since, you've got about 6% back. So in fact, we're not even back to where we were in 2009. In fact, we're below where we were in 2008. And so this is not adjusted for inflation either. So there's just less capital around as a result of what's going on out there. So that's a great answer. So let's go to the next $500 question. This source of capital has grown at both public and private institutions since 2007. We just said that overall capital has gone down, but this single source has grown. Again, a multiple choice question. Is it recurring institutional capital like major maintenance and R&R type funds? Is it bond funding and debt? Or is it government appropriations? Which one of those three?
Ooh, yeah.
And again, it could be more than one right answer, of course, but this is actually the most. So there actually is only one right answer.
The most.
The most.
What is recurring capital?
And is that true on your campus also?
Yes.
Okay, and that's correct. That's a correct answer. Recurring capital is a correct answer. And national trends, if we take a look at the national trends, it shows that while private institutions spend quite a bit more of recurring capital, you can see it's almost $2 a square foot, over $2 a square foot. Public are only about $1.35. Both are increasing. But take a look at the public, and I bet that most of you in public institutions wouldn't, maybe could verify this, that in fact there's been a 52% increase in institutional capital going to facilities over the last 7 years. And it's because, basically, let's face it, state governments have pulled back on capital. There's not the resources it was. Plus, people are more reluctant to take on debt. And so, as a result, people are now having to come up with the institutional capital. Sheri, you said you actually are doing some increases in your institutional capital. Can you talk a little bit about what PLU is doing to make that happen?
Well, one of the things that we figured out was we were spending a good share of our money on just refreshing facilities, paint, carpet, that kind of thing, while the stuff behind the walls was kind of going downhill. And that was because of increasing failures of heating systems that kind of woke us up. So we decided we really needed to do building portfolios, look at all the buildings and figure out what those buildings needed and actually present that to the cabinet and other folks on campus to show them that we needed to do more than paint and carpet. And that's led to increasing the amount of spending per year.
So let's go to our $1,000 question, which is related to the topic you just brought up. Investing in these types of projects reduces the future accumulation of critical deferred maintenance the most. So I'm looking for a project type.
What are building systems and envelopes?
That's correct. In fact, if we take a look at the chart, and I think we've got a chart here from life expectancy chart. If you put money into your envelope in mechanical systems, you're good for 25, 30 years. You may need to do planned and preventive work. We're finding that space renewal projects in general last only about 7 to 10 years. And in fact, people change them out. There's sort of a functional obsolescence concept. So as CFOs, if you're looking for ROI, return on investment, your best ROI is an envelope in systems. But I want to show Sheri a chart from PLU, which shows what's happened at PLU. Take a look. Sheri mentioned that they were spending a lot of money on space. From 2004 to 2013, they spent almost half their money on space and only 19% on building systems and building envelope. But then take a look at a study that we did with PLU to identify their building needs, and almost 42% was on systems and another 20%, 7% on envelope. So tracking this information is really important for you because you may not, your spending, historical spending, may not be matching what your actual campus needs are. So, tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do about that.
Well, so we're trying to move toward working at on those envelope and systems projects by looking at building portfolios, building by building. And we're also looking at those building portfolios on 1 to 3 years, 4 to 7 years, 7 to 10 years, and beyond 10 years. And so what we've identified are those 1 to 3 year projects that if we don't do, we run the risk of some kind of system failure. And all of a sudden that has people's attention, so that maybe we can be proactive and actually get it done before the heating system goes down rather than afterward.
Right. Thank you. Well, so what we learned, I think, from this particular section, Money is All I Want, is that today's facilities challenges require multiple strategies, no single strategy. And a lot depends on your institution. In the 90s and early 2000s, we relied on one big time infusions of capital. Whether you're public, you look to the state system to help you. Whether you're a private institution, you look to debt and endowment to help. But in fact, we've seen an overall decrease in funding. So on campuses, I think the important thing is think a little bit differently about your investment strategies. Begin to have a plan and a multi-year plan. And as Sheri pointed out, maybe thinking about this more as an endowment strategy where you're thinking about your building investments in portfolios rather than thinking about just projects. When we think about our endowment, we think about cash, bonds, stocks. We think about buildings. We could think a little differently about those buildings and be able to come up with a strategy that works.